What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best gaming related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. Shadow of the Colossus has been cited as an influence on a lot of games, guys. That being games like God of War, 3, and so on and so forth. There's a number of titles that have taken influence from Shadow of the Colossus. And so I wanted to go ahead in this segment of the show and talk about Shadow of the Colossus 2. This is a title that we've never gotten, a sequel to. That being, obviously after Shadow of the Colossus that came out back in 2006, we've wanted to see a continuation of some sort or another. There's been talks of film adaptations and all kinds of different things, as well as remakes, but could we get a true sequel at some point or another? Let's get into it. So, guys, in an article coming to us from Helen Lee of Looper, if you can believe it, it's been 15 years since epic action-adventure game Shadow of the Colossus was released for the PlayStation 2. The classic that Wired called one of the most important video games in the recent history of the medium can still be played on a current system. In fact, its 2018 remake for the PlayStation 4 is also considered one of the best games on that platform. Such influential innovation and beauty definitely deserves a sequel. The question is, are we ever likely to be able to play a new Shadow of the Colossus game? Well, that may depend on what you're looking for in a sequel. So Team Ico, the original developer, no longer exists, which is crazy to think, guys. But Team Ico, best known for the melancholic and minimalist games with themes of loneliness and isolation, made 3 titles between 2001 and 2016. Ico from 2001, Shadow of the Colossus from 2005, and The Last Guardian from 2016. They share similar ideas and may be considered spiritually linked. And I 100% agree with that, guys. I mean, The Last Guardian, I don't know much about Ico, but Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian, absolutely. Fumito Ueda, the director and lead designer behind Team Ico's games, was a touch ambiguous about the exact relationship between the 3 games. Telling the PlayStation blog in 2016, the way I see it, maybe they are from the same world or the same universe, but anything further than that is really up to the player's imagination. And I love that. It sounds like Christopher Nolan when he was explaining Inception to everyone. Ueda was not involved in the remake of The Shadow of the Colossus. That project was undertaken by Blue Point Games, which also did the PlayStation 3 version of the game as well. So Fumita Ueda's Gen Design has been working on a new game for years. So Ueda's companies are not known for their prolific output. The Last Guardian famously took 10 years to come to fruition after numerous delays, for example, and in early 2018, Gen Design started teasing a new game on its website and on Twitter that does not appear to bear any relation to its earlier titles. Later that year, the studio confirmed to Metro UK that it was working on a new title that was not a sequel, although it would be similar in scope to Team Ico's previous games. So let's talk about that right there, guys. So obviously with Shadow of the Colossus and the Last Guardian, those 2 games, they are different, but there's similarities to them. And I think, guys, that when you really start thinking about it, I really feel that this developer is one of those developers that really likes to just make like standalone games that may or may not be in the same universe. It reminds me of a director like Christopher Nolan, who, like with Inception, he directed Interstellar. He directed Tenet. And a lot of people were wondering, do these movies tie in one way, shape, or form? And he really leaves it up to the audience, to really think of what the endings could be of those movies and things of that nature. And so I love that. And I love that about this company. I do think that it would be something pretty special to see a sequel to Shadow of the Colossus and a sequel to The Last Guardian. In March of 2020, Epic Games announced that it was teaming with 3 independent developers to bring out new games. And Gen Design was one of them. So it looks like the company is working hard on this new title, whatever it is. Given that, and the fact that the group is not exactly known for working on more than one project at a time, it seems likely a direct sequel to Shadow of the Colossus is not in the cards anytime soon. However, Since Ueda has in the past confessed to a connection between his previous games, perhaps this upcoming game will still satisfy fans who miss Shadow of the Colossus. In any case, it's likely to be just as atmospheric as anything Team Ico has put out to date. So here's what I'll say about that, guys. I really do think, and I'm excited about the next upcoming title by Team Ico. I think it could be something pretty special just based on their current history and the trajectory that they're going on. Obviously, I would say that whatever the next title is, let's just say it's in the Shadow of the Colossus and in the Last Guardian, in those worlds, so to speak, we're probably still a number of years away until seeing that. Do I think they should make a Shadow of the Colossus 2 as well as a Last Guardian 2? Absolutely, guys. I think it's definitely something that needs to happen and should happen at some point or another. But obviously, at this point in time, guys, it doesn't look like we're going to get any indication anytime, really in the foreseeable future. But hopefully, just hopefully, Team Ico is working on something within that universe. But let me know, guys, what do you think here? Do you think we'll get a Shadow of the Colossus 2 at any point in the foreseeable future? Or do you think that that game is in a limbo state or a state of no return or a state of, look, it's just going to be fine with being that, focal point and really make that staple in the gaming industry? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Shadow of the Colossus 2 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Bloodborne was a fantastic title, guys, and I think a lot of people in the gaming industry really enjoyed this title when it released in 2015, and ever since then, and after we were able to sink our teeth into this title, we really wanted and we're looking forward to a possible sequel and really a long extended franchise. Well, with that being said, guys, there's been a lot of rumors, speculation, and talk about a potential Bloodborne 2 or a Bloodborne sequel. And so I want to break that down, guys, and talk about all of those things and what happened here to Bloodborne, and could we be seeing a Bloodborne 2 at some point in the future? So let's get into it. So, guys, in an article coming to us from the folks over at Game Rant, Bloodborne 2 has not been announced by From Software, but it still has been subjected to plenty of rumors and speculation. So, ever since From Software released Bloodborne in 2015, the gaming world has been collectively wondering when a sequel to the fantastic action RPG might be forthcoming. As the years roll by and From Software moves on to other projects, the odds Bloodborne will be turned into a series constantly diminishes. Now, I disagree with this, guys, just because we've seen a lot of titles, even more recently, a title like Dead Space that was really, guys, in a very bad spot, obviously, a game that, we had a trilogy for and, really ended off on bad terms. EA ends up closing Visceral Games, and then we see, of course, now, after all these years, the community comes together and really voices a new Dead Space reboot into existence. So I believe the same thing could happen here with Bloodborne. That being said, although nothing has been announced regarding a Bloodborne sequel, spiritual successor, or remaster, the game's enduring popularity ensures its future will continue to be a point of discussion. From Software's Elden Ring has been delayed, obviously, till February 2022, so players will have to wait slightly longer to get their hands on the studio's next big release. After Elden Ring's launch, it might only be a matter of time before From Software or Sony reveals a new project, be it something related to Bloodborne or another beast entirely. So there's people talking about Velvet Veil. And before we even get to that, guys, obviously, From Software making Elden Ring, a lot of people are very excited about Elden Ring, myself included. I'm really excited about this title. This could be something very special in the gaming landscape. That being said, though, that doesn't mean that after Elden Ring, they may not start working on a Bloodborne 2. From Software has a number of different IPs that they could work on. I do feel that Elden Ring is something that they're going to be trying to support for a long time, but only time will tell. So, Velvet Veil, this has been something that's been, something that a lot of people in the community have been talking about. Is this Bloodborne's successor? Well, in June 2021, a rumor made the rounds that stated From Software was working on a project entitled Velvet Veil. While evidently a new IP, this game would be a spiritual follow-up to 2015's Bloodborne, according to the leak. So there was a leak, guys, about this. So like most rumors, Velvet Veil came out of Twitter. This roughly translates to From Software is working on a PS5 exclusive with PlayStation. It is a spiritual successor to Bloodborne, but it will not be a sequel or prequel. The codename of the project is Velvet Veil. The leaker is the same one that talked about Sekiro, Duracine, and Elden Ring years ago. The rumor doesn't prove any significant information about Velvet Veil beyond its existence and its connection to Bloodborne. However, the Twitter chain continues on to mention that Velvet Veil's release date would be sometime in February or March 2023. It also states the game would be a PS5 exclusive, which makes sense since Bloodborne was released solely on Sony's PS4. So this could be something really interesting, guys. Look, a lot of people are, thinking that this rumor could be very credible. Others are a little bit skeptical. when it comes to, rumors and things of that nature, I get pretty optimistic because I think to myself that, look, obviously the rumor came from somewhere. A lot of times, some of these leakers, they don't have a lot of credibility, but it definitely gets excitement going. And then a lot of times those rumors can actually build communities around that, say, Velvet Veil, for example, and can really help voice it into existence at some point or another. Because I'm sure a lot of people, if you don't get Bloodborne 2, you'd love to have a spiritual successor to it at the very least. Bloodborne was a huge success for both From Software and the PS4, averaging an impressive 92 on Metacritic. The action RPG is the 11th highest rated game on Sony's console. Bloodborne also tops From Software's catalog when it comes to Metascores, eclipsing Dark Souls 2 and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, averages of 91. Within roughly 6 months of its release, Bloodborne had sold more than 2 million copies, and Sony went on to confirm that the game performed better than anticipated commercially. So, look, Bloodborne was both a critical and financial success, which obviously, guys, when you have both those things, we always talk about on the YouTube channel, if you get a good reception to the game and you also get good sales, usually really good things can happen when it comes to getting a sequel made. That being said, taking all of that into account, it only makes sense that From Software would wish to capitalize on the IP's brand recognition and produce a sequel. The studio is well known for being tight-lipped when it comes to projects, so silence doesn't necessarily mean that Bloodborne 2 is not in the works. That said, the company and Hideki Miyazaki, the director of most of the Soulsborne games, have largely stepped away from sequels in recent years. And this is true. So, obviously, following Bloodborne, Miyazaki went on to direct the following games. He directed Dark Souls 3, Duracine, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and now Elden Ring. So look, at the end of the day, guys, I don't think that we're getting a Bloodborne anytime soon, that being a sequel, but I do think it's something that's on the back of the mind for From Software. Obviously, they are totally focused on Elden Ring, as they should be, but moving forward, I think as long as we're building communities, creating content around Bloodborne 2, this is going to help voice this game into existence like it's happened for other communities like Dead Space. So, obviously, Sony owns the Bloodborne trademark. So while developed by From Software, Bloodborne was published by Sony Computer Entertainment. Sony also owns the trademark for Bloodborne, so the creation of a sequel is ultimately the discretion of the PlayStation company. As things stand, Bloodborne 2 would be a PS5 exclusive, although there is always the off chance that a follow-up would be given. The Horizon Zero Dawn treatment make its way to PC, which I think it should be on PC as well as PS5. That's just my opinion. I think the more ways that you're able to connect with people, that being any given franchise, I think the better. I've always felt that the exclusivity of games certainly, I think, gets you to want to buy that console, but I think not everybody's able to play it, unless you have that console. So definitely something that I hope they maybe change with Bloodborne 2. So currently, what would be a realistic release date, guys, if Bloodborne 2 was to happen? Currently, From Software is building steam for the release of Elden Ring, an action RPG that looks set to be the studio's biggest game to date. Elden Ring will debut on February 25th, 2022. The company will presumably spend the foreseeable future supporting this project, potentially including the creation and distribution of expansions. With the exception of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, From Software's recent games have generally spawned substantial DLC packages, whether we're talking Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, or Dark Souls 3. So while Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, and Dark Souls 3 followed an annual release cycle, From Software generally separates its big releases by at least 3 years. 2016's Dark Souls 3 was followed up by 2019's Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which in turn will be succeeded by 2022's Elden Ring. If this schedule is maintained and Bloodborne 2 happens to be From Software's next project, the game's release date is unlikely to be before 2025. And I 100% agree with that, guys. Look, there's been people asking the question at this point in time, is From Software going to be working on it, next? And, guys, it's so hard to say whether Bloodborne 2 is going to be in the pipeline or if they're going to be working on some totally new IP, or are they going to work on Elden Ring 2? From Software seems to they want to keep the creative juices flowing. You can kind of tell that just based on moving from one project to the next, and they're kind of totally different IPs. But I would love to see them make a Bloodborne 2, to say the least. Now, is a Bloodborne PS5 remaster remake in the pipeline? Well, Bloodborne 2 might be the holy grail of announcements, but the sequel is not the only prospect that has been subjected to rumors. Leaks regarding a Bloodborne remake for the PS5 have become almost commonplace. A Bloodborne remaster could serve as a stopgap between Elden Ring and whatever happens to follow it, with the 2023 release seeming like a smart bet. However, From Software is unlikely to announce anything prior to Elden Ring, since it wouldn't want anything that distracts from the upcoming game's hype. And I agree with that. What I would say about this, though, is I think a Bloodborne remaster would be great because at least it's something. And number two is that this would bring exposure back to Bloodborne. Those of us, those people who are in the next generation of gaming that haven't been able to play Bloodborne, they're able to play it from a remastered perspective. From Software can see how much, engagement and how many players, get it, and really how much interest is still in Bloodborne, and then they can gauge what they want to do moving forward with the IP. So, which studio would be a reliable choice for a remaster? Well, a PS5 remaster of Bloodborne would need a studio that is up to the job, especially since From Software is unlikely to handle the project in-house. The obvious pick is Bluepoint Games, as the Texas-based developer has a history of remastering games for PlayStation systems. Since its formation in 2005, the studio has worked on the following remasters and remakes: God of War Collection, the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus Collection, Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, Uncharted Nathan Drake Collection, Gravity Rush, Shadow of the Colossus, and Demon Souls. So it would make a lot of sense, guys, to see, obviously, someone like Bluepoint or a company like Bluepoint Games work on the remaster. I think that would be absolutely awesome. Now, another persistent rumor that usually accompanies talk of a Bloodborne remaster is that the game might be ported to PC. A few years ago, a PlayStation exclusive making its way to Windows would have been considered little more than wishful thinking. However, the ports of Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone have proven that Sony is nowadays willing to share its project with PC owners. There is precedent, but that does not mean that Bloodborne will eventually find itself on Steam. I think it's definitely... I think there's definitely a possibility that we could see it go to PC. I'm more so looking at, could we be getting a Bloodborne 2 at some point in the foreseeable future? If not, or could we be getting a remaster? And that's the real thing, guys. I do believe that we as the community are the ones, and we got to be the voice for this game. That being Bloodborne 2. We have to voice to the developers, that being From Software, that we want a sequel made. And I believe, guys, that if we do that, enough of us are saying that and creating content around it, that can really help in a major way getting this game made. With that being said, though, guys, what do you think? Do you think we'll ever get a Bloodborne 2? Do you think that this is something that should get a remaster? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Bloodborne 2 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. HalfLife is an incredible franchise, guys. Something that so many people talked about. I remember, obviously, getting into the gaming industry. This is one of the games that everyone was talking about. Had to play it for myself, and what an incredible experience. Then, of course, we've waited numbers of years to get a continuation. We did get Half-Life Alyx, which didn't release to consoles, unfortunately, and it was definitely something that I think deserved to be on consoles, but it goes to VR, and look, fantastic title, without question, but it was really a tease to what we wanted, which was a Half-Life 3. That being said, guys, I want to talk about, where is Half-Life 3 at this point in time? Is this a title that is going to be coming out at some point or another? Is it in a limbo state or a state of no return? Let's talk about it, guys. In an article coming to us from Cade Onder of Screen Rant, according to a Valve leaker, Half-Life 3 is not actively in development, but a new game in the series could be releasing on Steam Deck in the future. So a new report from a reputable leaker in the Valve community claims that the long-awaited Half-Life 3 is not in development. Despite rumors of a new game in the series, while this may have been a foregone conclusion a few years ago due to Valve's extended silence on the threequel, things changed in early 2020. The release of Half-Life Alyx more or less revived the series in a substantial way, sparking speculation over whether or not Half-Life 3 would finally happen. And I agree. I think that it definitely sparked that interest once again. Now, sadly, according to prominent Valve insider and YouTuber Tyler McVicker, Half-Life 3 is not in the works in any notable shape or form. Valve is reportedly focused on a game for the upcoming Steam Deck codenamed Citadel, which is believed to be a Half-Life RTS game. McVicker described the game as a Left 4 Dead and Alien Swarm and RTS and Half-Life all having a baby. Valve's focus seems to be on getting the Steam Deck shipped while supporting the upcoming handheld, but that doesn't necessarily mean Half-Life 3 will never happen. So, while McVicker has been correct with leaks and rumors in the past, the claims of both of Half-Life RTS and a lack of Half-Life 3 are currently unverified and should be taken with a grain of salt. The ending of Half-Life Alyx heavily implies Valve will continue the story of Gordon Freeman in the future, but the developer may just have some higher priorities at the moment with the upcoming release of its latest hardware, the Steam Deck. With Alyx and the rumored RTS game hinting at a new era for the franchise, it's possible that Valve could well be planning the next mainline Half-Life and prototyping a concept once the Steam Deck ships. And I agree. I mean, look, I believe that Half-Life Alyx absolutely rejuvenated everybody's excitement for this franchise. There's no doubt about it. The only unfortunate thing to me was that a lot of people still don't have the VR and a VR headset. And so a lot of people didn't play Half-Life Alyx that could have if it would have released on consoles as well. So at the end of the day, guys, I'm really excited to see what the future of Half-Life is, because I think that if we would have never gotten a Half-Life Alyx, I mean, I just don't know if we ever would have gotten another Half-Life title, even though it's one of, those huge franchises that Valve has. I am really excited to see what happens here in the future with Half-Life. I think there's a good chance that Citadel could be, like we said, like an RTS title that's within that universe or something of that nature. It should be something pretty interesting, and hopefully this fully rejuvenates the entire community in a major way. But let me know, guys, where do you think Half-Life 3 is at this point? I mean, is this a game that's going to be coming out at some point or another? Is Valve putting it to the wayside? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Half-Life 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. Guys, I want to thank you all for all the support you guys have been giving me. It means the world to me. Thank you so much, guys. If you guys enjoyed this episode of the 8 Below Show, all I ask is if you would hit that thumbs up button, guys. It helps out the YouTube channel in a massive way. Subscribe if you're new so you get notified every single time we have a new video that goes up on the YouTube channel. Stay positive. Just keep grinding. And as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.